All right. Let's watch IC together. I heard already that it's a bit of a weird one. Filler, quote unquote. So let's see. I'm nervous.
The public roadmap on the robertsspaceindustries.com website
is a waste of time.
Place to check out the new features, locations, gameplay systems, and technologies currently being developed for both Star Citizen and Squadron 42. But as with all things in game development, there are gaps, small breaks, quick moments when a single developer is forced to wait for another dependency to be finished before work on their
They already did this video.
primary or even secondary tasks may continue. Now, these happen at every game studio on every game project in development. But
I think he's explaining for us to not get mad. Like, we're getting Jay explained here. Like, hey, guys, this guy did something. We think it's fun. We want to highlight it, but we know you're going to say we're wasting time. So that's probably what's happening
the
here.
stories of what fills these in-between moments, or ninja missions, as animation director Steve Bender referred to them on last week's Star Citizen Live, are rarely, if ever, shared. Now, with the team heads down focusing on bringing Alpha 319 with its new content and continuing performance fixes to live servers within just the next 2 weeks, and the staggered development of Alpha 320 already well underway that we'll be exploring here as early as
Staggered
next week,
development.
we hope you'll
You hear that?
indulge us this week, as we thought we'd dedicate this in-between ISC to one of those in-between tasks that get so often overlooked.
Okay, I have a suggestion. The in-between ISCs should be in between the breaks. They should just be during the 3-week breaks. There shouldn't be 3-week breaks. We should just have these in-between goofy ISCs.
Developers work between tasks to build a sequel, an expansion, and a potential evolution to the Grey Cat PTV buggy tracks to fill additional convention centers when big events like Invictus aren't running. So here's Stefan Damerow with an update to his one-person crusade to bring more fun to Star Citizen's original, first-ever working vehicle. It's true, my hangar module peeps will remember.
Oh, yeah.
So for the first raid track, we thought of an interesting way to kind of fill up the convention center when there's no conventions happening there. So Martin kind of did this track for the Orison Convention Center with this
I haven't
kind
done it
of
on live yet.
neon advertisement filled space, and this track which you can race on with your PTV. And later it was kind of handed over to me to kind of just wrap it up, do the bug fixing, and kind of just iron out the small problems so it can go live. And so our first racetrack was this kind of dark, moody space filled like up with neon advertisement lights, very kind of commercialized space around the racetrack. So kind of after wrapping up the bug fixing of the first track, I moved on to some other tasks, but turned out that they kind of had just a bit of downtime in between. So we thought it would be a nice idea to just kind of make a second racetrack, since we have multiple convention centers. So there's
and they have all the parts
some
now
space
and
to
everything.
fill there. And I started to build this second racetrack, kind of using the base that Martin built for the first one. So it's still a work in progress, but let's take a look. So for this new track, obviously we want to kind of keep it different and create something new to give a bit of a different vibe compared to the previous one. So we took the same basis, which is all the racetrack pieces, but just kind of adjusted the stuff around it a bit. So first thing you notice is obviously it has kind of a different dressing around it, different styles. So this one is this snow-filled environment. Since this one will be placed on New Babbage, we thought it would be cool to kind of reflect that also on the interior a bit and just kind of get a bit of a different mood. So
how cool would it be if it was like more slick,
the
like icy?
Layout in here is different. So you still have the main hall where a lot of the racing takes place, but then you also move into these side sections, which we have usually for conventions. So we have this other big room here to kind of play around with and use the space to also create a bit of interesting section for the track.
Big.
So from here you kind of just circle back into the main room again. We have this nice interesting circular room where we definitely want to put something eye-catchy and cool here, since it's kind of a prime spot for that. So you drive around here, and then it just leads you back into the kind of main hall again. So since I already mentioned the idea,
all right, that's it. Let's pack it up.
Thematic dressing for this kind of from Microtech, but also instantly ideas of how we can use this setting kind of popped up in my head. So, for example, as you can see, this is this very kind of hazy, cold, bit foggy space, and thought it would be cool to potentially kind of use some areas maybe to take a bit of vision away from the drivers. And kind of use it to make it more interesting. A lot of this stuff is still kind of in the very early idea phase, so not everything in here might necessarily kind of end up in the final racetrack, but this is just mostly just throwing some ideas out there. Another thing kind of associated to this dressing would be these kind of icy patches of the track.
Nice.
So on these ones, actually your vehicle like has different grip on the surface, so it's all a bit more kind of slippery, harder to drive on. So you want to be mindful if you drive over these patches. So for this area, I just mainly tested it out. So we want to obviously kind of keep it a bit more localized later to certain spaces and to balance it out so it doesn't feel just like unfair and taking control away from the player too much. Another thing, like an idea, would be these icicles, which could either be just kind of a visual dressing element, or maybe we could in the future physicalize and actually make interactable for the players so they could reach down.
Maybe in the future. I've heard that before.
Further into the kind of area where the people drive, and then you could crash through them and kind of break them apart while you drive there.
Hey, Steven.
Yes?
Adding obstacles, that's like driving a Grey Cat is hard enough. You don't think this is plenty challenge already?
Yeah, well, actually we got some other stuff in mind which might make it even a bit more challenging. Let me show you what we got over here. So these are obviously all still in a very experimental stage. So these are for now just ideas which might or might not end up kind of in the final racetrack. So these ones are basically just these kind of moving obstacles which make it a bit harder to navigate and drive around.
I think they need to move a little slower.
Additionally, we have over here some stuff like, for example, this one would be an idea that you kind of have this lift section on the track just to kind of make it a bit more interesting. So obviously you want to kind of make it onto the platform, be fast enough to race on, because otherwise you'll kind of just have to wait until next time the piece goes down for you and lets you go up there. Then another idea would be here, this kind of little jump pad. So if I just get into the PTV. So as you drive over it, it just kind of throws you up into the air a bit. That could be something cool potentially. Let's see. over here. This could be basically
this
just
is
some
literally Trackmania.
moving
This is
pieces
so
of
funny.
the track. So it's either like this ramp going up and down, maybe even leading onto different sections of the track, or this piece which goes.
I think this will be really cool when it's like maybe a little bit more competitive, for example.
Sideways. Obviously, you need to think about the implementation there a bit. This little
What is going
kind
on?
of
What are
obstacle
these
here,
things?
which gives a bit of a warning before it comes up and kind of blocks off this section for the player. This little moving obstacle, which just kind of sort of drives on the track for a bit, making it a lot harder to navigate around, and then eventually just kind of goes off again. Could do some boost pads maybe.
I mean, listen, man, I'm fine with all this. None of this bothers me that they're doing it. It's when I see things like the props team making shake weights that you can throw when there's certain props in the game that we can't hold is something that frustrates me, like with the mining modules and things like that.
So just if you get into your gray cat again.
Yeah, I see nothing wrong with any of
Drive
this.
over it, and it just kind of gives you a little boost.
Oh, boosters, okay. It looked like it was braking, right? The nose went down.
Potentially some not quite 0G, but a lot less gravity involved jumps over ramps. So you could get sections of the track where the gravity just is a little bit turned down. So you get like bigger and longer jumps.
Bro,
you've been doing
why does he still have his wheels and we lose ours?
this in your spare time between tasks?
Yeah, so this is kind of just an in-between task while there's downtime on the kind of bigger, more important stuff. And again, like it's important to mention that the last stuff you saw is very much still kind of just in the idea phase, so it might or might not end up like on the next track. And it kind of just more serve just as a starting point for a discussion also with the other departments of how easy it would be to implement something like this. So it's synced on servers between players, so they're actually seeing the same thing happening at the same time, and it's not just like localized to one player's machine, and it's completely in a different spot for someone else.
Oh my god, that's the whole ISC. And then Jared's gonna spend a few minutes telling us why it's so cool. Listen, it's cool. It's definitely cool. It just comes down to this. For me, the only thing that these need, I'm just a competitive person, so this is just my personal thing, is I can't do this just for fun. Like, I need to race and be racing against like lap times for myself and things like that. Very similar to what we're seeing with racing in the PU. Those missions are really good, right? For me, I think that they're fun. I push myself further and further and further. And I was hoping and expecting to see that with the buggy tracks, have a similar experience. Like, obviously you can get your friends together and do this, right? Which is cool, but it would also be really cool to have like, yeah, maybe like little leaderboards and stuff like that. It would be nice.
Thanks for watching. I gotta get back to my real work now.
I think they want to bring these into AC.
So what did we learn this week? We learned that in-between tasks are where individual developers can contribute fun and off-the-wall ideas to the game while waiting for dependencies to resolve. That one of the many ways this manifests is with quirky buggy racetracks. And that Stefan Demrau, sole architect of this endeavor in his downtime, may have a rather sadistic side I hadn't anticipated after seeing some of those moving up.
I'm just upset that ISC had such a long pause, and this is the second video. The first video was really good, though. Somebody in chat said I missed it, and they mentioned that they're talking about 320 next patch or next week. Like, Star Citizen Live tomorrow is going to be really good. So for me, it's like, okay, you know, take a week off. I wish that they would save these for Jared's time off. I think that that would be really good if Jared was taking a time, and it's not Jared, it's the whole team taking a time off from making the videos and gathering stuff. I don't know their workflow. You know, like I have my own problems with my own workflow, but at the same time, there must be a way to schedule these videos ahead. We have to get to that point. I think that would be super cool, and that videos like these can be kind of chucked in there, short ones, not that big of a deal, and then yeah,
obstacles.
They fill in
Most
those
developers
gaps.
do. Now remember to keep an eye out for Alpha 319 with its mining updates, salvage mission modules, tractor beam improvements, new Loreville, continuing performance improvements, and more as it makes its way through PTU into the live testing environment in the coming weeks. There's Invictus Launch Week immediately after that, and possibly some Jumptown thrown in the mix somewhere between now and then.
Because we need that so bad.
Probably should have paid more attention in the meetings. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share our weekly behind-the-scenes look at the process of game development with you. Happy Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. And we'll see you all here next week.
Bro, I did not play Star Wars on Star Wars Day, and I streamed until 4 p.m. 4:30.
Yes, hi.
Holy
I'd like
hell.
to report an error with my order. Yes, you sent me the wrong costume for Star Wars Day. Yes, I ordered an X-Wing pilot. Yes, X-Wing pilot. No. No. Yes, I suppose they do sound similar. Yes, I'll hold.
That was good. But yeah, I mean, I whatever, man. These are fine. I think people, I don't have the downvote thing, so I can't see how many people have downvoted it. But the number of people that are upset about this, I don't know. These kind of things don't bother me. I think what I see in 319 is really exciting, and whatever. Some guys making a racetrack that some less people will have fun with than the average stuff, but it's totally fine. I think. I want it to be competitive for me. That's what I would want to see. 1.4K upvotes to 854 downvotes. Yeah, it's a pretty tight ratio, and that's never a good thing, but I think they expected that based on their intro, right? They were damage control right from the start. It doesn't matter. It was cool. Once you're watching it, you're like, yeah, the track's pretty cool. So I think people just need to chill out a little bit on that one. It's not that big of a deal. It's not the end of the world.